with this. This is Advanced Readers Advisory in NC Live. So we are taking a deep dive into NoveList, and I am luckily joined by a fantastic co-host. So if you haven't attended an NC Live training before, I'm Devin Waugh, the instruction librarian for NC Live. I love talking all things Readers Advisory, and I'm currently reading 2666 by Roberto Bolaño. And I have the fabulous Julie Rayner from High Point Public Library joining me today.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I am currently reading The Lioness of Boston by Emily Franklin, a fascinating story about or a fictionalized account about the life of Isabella Stewart Gardner, who was responsible for a very famous small art gallery in Boston that experienced a very famous theft back in the 90s. So kind of a fascinating person to learn about.
Right. So we do appreciate you all sharing what you're hoping to get out of this training, specific genres in the registration form. And so with that, we kind of tallied up what were the top picks of the group, and found that you all are definitely looking for recommendations based on romance, mystery, and thriller were like the top two, as well as nonfiction. We'll mention other genres and how you can get up to speed in NoveList quickly. Julie is also a fantastic expert and fan of historic fiction. And so if you want to reach out for recommendations later, we'll share our contact info in the follow-up email. There's also some mention of tools for finding titles for younger readers, such as graphic novels, accelerated reader levels, YA, picture books, and we will touch on that as well. But just wanted to share that you asked and we listened for this session. Here are the links to the slides and the handout. I'll drop those in the chat in just a bit. But with that, I will hand it over to Julie. We're going to start off with a NoveList demo, and Julie will share how she uses the tool in her role and certain sections that she'll point out as being particularly useful for Advanced Readers Advisory. We'll do some genre deep dives, and I'll cover some titles from NC Live collections for ebooks and audiobooks. We might get some time for marketing, or we might just skip to the Q&A based on the time that we have, but you will have access to all these materials after the webinar. All right. Now I am going to hand it over to you, Julie.
All right. Okay. Is everybody seeing my NoveList screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. So what I was really going to talk about first is what you can do with NoveList beyond just the basic search when you're at the service desk and somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I want recommendations for, I've read everything by Nora Roberts and I want somebody else." So what I was going to focus on is what I sort of think of as sort of the on the fringes tools, which is mainly the toolbar here at the top, and the toolbar on the sort of the sidebar on the search page as well. So going ahead and getting into that, I'm going to start with this quick links section. Just at a glance, you can see the variety of resources that you could access from here. And every single one of these has links and resources that you can click into, and you could be here for hours exploring all this. I'm just going to kind of focus on a few things here. We're going to start with the story elements index. And this is a sort of a starting guide for some of the terms that NoveList uses in a lot of their search tools. The story elements include their appeals, factors, themes, and genres. So most of us understand, kind of the genres, but novelists can really provide up-to-date information about every type of genre and subgenre, and they're keeping current with all the new ones. So that's something good. Over here on the side, you can kind of test some of these out. The appeal factors is something that's relatively new. But when you're in a conversation with somebody trying to find a new book for them, using these appeal factors can really get to the heart of the types of books they're wanting to read. So that's really useful when you are having those direct conversations with people. Once again, you kind of try out they have some options there. And the themes are also good for talking to patrons, but it also is good if you are looking for a really innovative, fun kind of display topic. This might be somewhere to go. If you're just, tired of the same old, display topics. So there's these resources too. And if you look over kind of underneath here, there is a YouTube channel. We've got links to all of these resources, and they have great short videos on using all of this stuff. So it goes really in depth. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm gonna come back up to the top. So with that, the genre guides, several of you mentioned wanting to learn more about these genres. Looking into the genre guides will allow you to do that, sort of give you a quick way to get some training. This one right here seems like it would apply to some of the requests that you all made, graphic novels for older kids. So, and you can see that this pulls up a list of articles and that kind of thing for a variety of different things. NoveList is just as useful for nonfiction and kids' books as it is for adult fiction. So that's just something to keep in mind. And we'll talk about this stuff up here in a minute. The other thing that I wanted to mention is this page to screen. There's so many adaptations of books on, with movies, with television shows, and NoveList does a great job of keeping current with this. Also a great way to create displays, social media content, bring people to the library, connect up the patrons that are the movie watchers, the streaming folks back to the books that these shows and movies are based on. So you can see that they really do a great job there. And there's other ways to see those kinds of things, and we'll see that in a minute with the movie mentions, and I'll show you where to find those, or the media mentions, and that is, the times when the authors go on the morning talk shows and talk about their new book that's coming out, and they neglect to say that the new book is coming out in 6 months. So when your patrons come in and say, hey, I just saw this new book on the show this morning, and you can quickly dive into NoveList, it's like, oh, yes, it was on there today, but it won't be released until, November. So then you can kind of help them at that point, find some read alikes, that kind of thing. But at least it's a great tool for finding all of those things in one place. And also from the quick links here, book club resources. There are folks that come in that are have their book club, and this is just a great guide. Or if you want to start a book club, Also, for a staff member who's eager to do that, great tips here. You can follow along with all the celebrity book clubs. So yes, this covers the top celebrity book clubs. So that's what you can find here. And this sends you to the link to this Explore Books in the Media. If you click on that, since I just mentioned it, this will take you to all of the media mentions. And there's ways to get, to specific shows, and you can look at, by day, what you're looking for. So that, well, you can find this in another place as well, but since it was there, I wanted to go ahead and show it to you. And finally in here, the Working with Youth, also a great guide if you are just starting out and want to reach out to kids of all ages. You have by age group, and they do narrow it down. I mean, they are talking about the early readers, they're talking about the middle grade, the tweens, and they're talking about the teens. You can look specifically at genres for them and graphic novels. So those are two really specific things that you can find just from this top bar. I mean, I haven't left this quick links menu on this top bar. So that is truly, all of it is here. Since they just announced the Youth Media Awards winners, you can search over here for awards. You'll see the recent award winners that were just announced on Monday. So, they are totally and completely staying on top of this, so you don't have to. It's just always there available for you to access. Now we can dive a little bit further into the I was going to show one other thing with the Working with Youth. Let me go back over there. I got excited about the awards. Several of you had talked about trying to identify books based on reading level. We have in the advanced search is a great place to do this as well, and I'll show you that in a moment. But for the Lexile codes, they have this Lexile chart, and it not only shows what the ranges are, but it will tell you what the grade age levels are for those Lexile codes. So it's I would bookmark this page and you would just have it all the time for when you are working with kids or teachers that are wanting to help their students access a certain Lexile code. So that's right there on that Working with Youth page under the quick links. So going back over here to the browse by, we'll look at the genre. And this also truly at a glance. I mean, it's just all genres. You can choose, as you see right there, as the top genre categories or the most popular ones. And this is adults. If you want crime and suspense, fantasy, historical fiction, horror, gothic, you get the idea, mysteries. And you will also see all of those genre categories with the different age groups. So the teens, and so if we go back to just to see how it breaks down. So this will show you, you could break it down to contemporary. I mean, it will totally break down for you the different subgenres. And if you're really needing a quick spot to go to, I only read the Christian romance, I've read everything, what's something that I could get, log into NoveList, come over here to this browse by genre, choose romance, and there it is. And it's even over here on the side. the for fans of, we'll find in a minute, this is great too. This is tapping into all of the popular culture stuff that people will come in with, because people are interested in so many different fandoms, I suppose, different shows, movies, topics. And this is a really great way to connect with those folks. With the teens that are maybe more reluctant, the fans of is a great way to start a conversation with them. And then from there, once you find out what they're interested in, you could then give them a few suggestions, but not overwhelm them. Same thing kind of with the appeal. This explains their process of the appeal. It's really kind of mix and match. It's kind of fun. They've already got some examples pulled together, sort of some quirky, unique combos. You can play around with this also for all the different age groups. So something truly fun to play around with. And the themes come in, like I mentioned before, a lot of it is great ideas for displays. And it gives some education. I mean, if you are trying to learn more about themes, once again, just participating in, viewing some of these quick videos, it will then help you understand the ways that authors and publishers are thinking about books and ways to connect them with your readers. So as you can see, there's YouTube video. This idea center is amazing. I would strongly suggest taking a look at that as you have time. Lots of great resources, and then just blog posts as well. So it's all here. And yes, like I said before, you could spend hours really, truly drilling down into some of this and finding something that will be very useful to you. And it's all here. I mentioned the award winners, and that will be, the recent award winners. And then it will go into a very extensive list of the popular awards for the variety of different age groups. If you know you're going to want to always focus on the Pulitzers or the Nobels, you can get those lists here. If you know you're always going to want to get the Michael Prince Award, you'll get that here. So it's just a great, once again, they are helping us do our job smarter because they've already got it here available for us to access without having to, go and do a search and find a list. It's already all in here. We don't even have to go anywhere outside of it. And there's also some great resources and NoveList that focus on audiobooks. I don't know about you guys, but we have a lot of folks that just really only do audiobooks. And when they added these features in to help you focus on the audiobooks, that was a great help to me. It will, the same kinds of things. It's new and forthcoming. All these recommended reads over here based on some of the more popular categories, the audiobook awards. Biographies in my library are incredibly popular, especially on audio, especially when the celebrities narrate them. So that's something that if we could quickly get to access some of these biographies, it's so helpful. So that's sort of the browse by categories. And I'll just jump over here really quickly. The how do I? This is to help you. This is to help your staff, new librarians, know what's in NoveList, how to use it. And you can see the questions are similar to some of the questions that you guys mentioned wanting to learn more about for this webinar. So grade or reading level, appeal, genre, You can do alerts. I am actually signed in. I have a work account that I use sometimes, and you can get alerts when there are, if you do a search and you want to be alerted when new books are added that fit that search, you can set that up to get an email, something like that. You could print and save and share your searches, your results. And there are ways to connect NoveList with your library catalog. There are lots of steps involved in that, so we won't go into that as much today, but just know that it is possible to do that. And then just some basic training on how to use the aspects of NoveList. So I'm going to go back over here to our home page. I'm going to scroll down a little bit because this is the mood is, this also is sort of at a glance. And to me, this connects in with the NoveList appeal factors. So, this is just one in like several categories. And once again, they have them for all the age groups, different topics for each. I mean, the younger kids love the funny books. So those kinds of things, but it's just right here on this main page. You can go into the genres. And that could be a really great, I'll just click on the teens here, really great dive into, and it gets you back to that genre page for teens that we looked at a moment ago. So there's several, it gets you to some of these resources several different ways. And I'm just hitting that home button to get back to the main page. And these explore pages, once again, this books in the media. It's the same page that we went to before, but it will, and there is a media mention index. And if you click on that, it will show you by media outlet, by show title, and then it will give the full list. So you can narrow down to exactly the show that someone was watching when they heard about this new book that they're dying to read or to recommend to one of their users. So it's so easy to get to. I'll go back to the home page and make sure I've covered all this sort of center, these sort of highlighted collections. They'll have some featured award winners, and you can kind of hover over it. It will give you information. And if you have an account, which is free, you can create an account and you want to save it, you can add it to a folder, and you can manage folders similarly to how you would manage an email account. You could create in a folder and add things into it. So that's one great thing. Same thing here. You can hover over it. It'll give you some basic information about the book, a description, the narrator, the author. Is especially important since this is an audiobook, and the narrator is key a lot of times with how well your customers, your patrons are going to enjoy the audiobook. So that's another great feature just on this main page. I'll go back over here. So the other thing I wanted to point out is this recommended reads list. So this has topics in here. Many of them are here all the time. Best club, book club, best bets. And if you click on the arrow, it's going to give you, different categories to explore. Christian fiction. I especially like this for fans of, because they keep very current on these. It's everything from Black Panther to Stranger Things. You can see, it covers a lot. And this is just for the adult section. And they do this for each of the age groups, and they have different categories. based on what those age groups are interested in. Folks, you would ask about graphic novels. Here's where you come. This is, you can look at adult graphic novels. You can look at coming over here, this 9 to 12 graphic novels, same kind of thing. It's going to be specifically for that age group. And don't forget, I mentioned that there are resources for nonfiction that are equally as useful as the ones for fiction. So same thing, if you just switch tabs here, and you could come over to the nonfiction. I'm still on the ages 9 to 12, but you can see the real life stories, the biographies. Kids that are 9 to 12 age group love reading the biographies, but also for the adults. The biography and memoir focus on subtopics that are in current events and are of special interest to our readers. Best of 2023. So there's really, it hits, they seem to just know what the popularity is on a lot of this stuff. And they are your best friend in keeping up with all this, because there would be no way I could keep up with it on my own. So that's kind of what I was going to pull out of this recommended reads section. Just trying to think if there was anything. I think with the ages 0 to 8, a lot of times you'll do holiday displays. There you go, just right there. So that's easy. They're already getting prepared for the upcoming summer reading. So they've already got lists started, and you can kind of see they've got a list of a good number of titles already. And anytime you see a list and it has the folder with the plus sign, if you're signed into your account, you could just start creating a list. You can save it to a folder. So they're already starting to help us prepare for the summer. So, because I know we're starting to do all that here. I will go back over to the main page now. The one other thing I was going to show was this advanced search. This is really robust. You could do all kinds of searching from here. I'm not even going to talk about using the field codes, because that's something that you could really use. I'm just going to scroll down and show you how you can search for specific things just with this advanced search. The same kinds of things that we talked about so far, the media mentions and more. The Lexile ranges, if it's the accelerated reader program that you're interested in, that's good as well. You also have grade level. So it's all grade level, Lexile, and accelerated reader all here. If you're looking for short audiobooks, you can choose running time. If you're looking for abridged, unabridged, dramatized stories, then author's nationality, cultural identity, if you're wanting to get some information on some diverse titles, diverse authors, you can look at all of that here. Gender identity, all of that is available here. Document type, like I said, the media mentions, award winners, it's just so absolutely thorough in here, and you could search for days. And even the audio format, if what you're looking for is the e-audio, you could see if it's available on an MP3 or a CD. It's just, you could get very specific in things that you're looking for, even if you want to start thinking about things that are going to be released soon. You could choose forthcoming. It doesn't have to be, they go beyond just what is published right now. They look at the upcoming releases as well. And the, if I can get over to it. Let's do that. Okay. Just going to try to get over into my account here. It's not letting me. Okay. It's like I said before, though, I guess I could do it. Yeah. Because I'm signed in, it's going to see the search history. Okay. So that's sort of, and there was one other thing I was going to do. Many of you may be familiar with, one of the quickest tools for NoveList, like I mentioned at the beginning, was you do a search for a book and it comes up with a really quick list of both title, series where appropriate or where applicable, and author read-alikes. It also works for nonfiction. It's not just for the fiction titles. So the new Britney Spears book, long wait lists for this one. If you want read-alikes, you've got read-alikes over here. For the title itself, if you want author read-alikes, you can find that as well. So just like with the fiction titles, you would be able to find both title and author read-alikes for the nonfiction, just like you would for the fiction. And also when you do these searches, like I mentioned before, when you're signed in, you can save titles to a folder. You can create an alert, which will let you know when new content is added in that is similar to that title or that search that you've done. You can share a search if you are working with a team creating a display and you've done a search like, hey, here's some ideas of titles to include. You can share that via email as well. And also we'll break down looking at, the audiobook versions. There's reviews. It also connects in with Goodreads. So if you're a Goodreads user, there is a relationship between NoveList and Goodreads. It'll give some author information as well. So there's a lot here, as you can see. And what Deb is going to share, we'll kind of focus in on and hopefully reinforce some of the general overview that I've given here. The other thing is they always have a featured sort of a newsy item up here. Right now they have a webinar. They offer regular webinars. They have a training site that has sort of a self-paced courses, short courses that you can take. But they're looking at the 2023 in review. You can click here and talk to the librarians at NoveList, kind of listen to what they have to say in a webinar, also for free. So this is something that you can access through NC Live.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. One caveat with the webinars is you can register and you'll receive the recording, but they stop giving you access to the recording. I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks after the webinar. After that, it's typically behind a paywall in their Learn with NoveList learning management system. So usually when I register for a NoveList webinar, I make sure to watch it pretty soon after. All right, so we are going to jump in with using field codes. So that's something that Julie mentioned earlier, but this is something where you put the field code in front of the genre that you want to look at. And then you can create these combos of genre, appeal, even theme searching in the search bar. It's a really nice way to kind of pinpoint what you're looking for. And in some of the pages, the quick links pages, you saw these different sample combos of like space opera plus funny. That's where NoveList is using field code combinations. And so we'll get into how you can use those for genre. So because some of the big things that y'all mentioned were specific genres and keeping up with genre, I wanted to share this guide for how to make sense of searching for genre in NoveList. So the recommended reads lists are such a good starting point with finding titles. You could do so much because there's so many subgenres within a genre like romance or mystery or sci-fi, just in those recommended reads lists alone. Then using that browse by genre page that you saw with the different subgenres and the carousel of different titles is great. And then jumping into the genre guides. Now, we shared this whole section, so I'm not going to get too in depth with it. But this is the browse by genre section for mystery. And you can see there's even more recommendations here because mystery contains so much. It could be historical mystery, it could involve cozies, gentle reads, often with crime and cozy mysteries. It's tied to aging sleuths or a hobby like cooking or knitting. So you can see some of these recommendations on the right. But to get even more detailed, those genre guides are great because with each guide, it starts off with like, what is that genre? So for this one here, what is psychological suspense? What happens? What are some top themes that you can click on and start searching for? Who are the kind of foundational authors of the genre? And then who are the up and coming ones? With some recommendations on how to market for fans. So if you've kind of exhausted your efforts with the recommended reads, you like the browse by, but you're looking for something more, these genre guides are really great. And so that's what I recommend if you're looking for the genre guide for romance, romantasy. We can go into NoveList and look at that. I am going to jump into NoveList now so you can see what I'm talking about. So as you can see here, if we go to quick links, you can find those genre guides. You can also just search for the subgenre. So romantasy as an example, and then listen articles. So this is a recommended reads list for romantasy. That's that hybrid of romance and fantasy. Or if I want to put in the genre guide for, let's see if there's one for police procedurals, which is kind of that subgenre in mystery. I can see some recommended reads lists. I can also look at that psychological suspense. So I'm just using keywords, but then it also, NoveList is showing me the genre guide for psychological suspense, as I mentioned, and then some recommended titles. So why do readers like this genre? Some key authors, those foundations, Talented Mr. Ripley, of course, and then some authors to watch and some help with marketing. So these are great because it really gives you something to sink your teeth into with a particular subgenre and getting familiar with it. And so I'll head back into the slides. We talked about the story elements index. You could spend, I find that I revisit it at certain points. It's not something you need to like read in a whole afternoon or a whole day, but it's something I turn to as a reference. And I think that's something that I hope you all walk away with is referring to it as needed and finding and keeping up to speed with a genre. Now, romance was really highly requested. I pulled out kind of different titles from the last year that I think are good to look out for. So Just Once by Karen Kingsbury. This is a great example of historical romance set in World War II. It's very much, there was a request for like titles that are clean romance. This is more in that category. Oftentimes, I'll show you how to search for that, but you can read based on the description in NoveList and also the appeal words that are being used to categorize it, to see that it's a good fit. And then I'll show you some searches for finding romance titles based on reader preference. So romantasy, as I mentioned, this hybrid. Sarah J. Maas is a really key author in this, as well as Rebecca Yarrow, who wrote Fourth Wing. Sarah J. Maas, you have probably seen a Game of Thorns and Roses. The title is missing. But she is very much core to the genre. And Catherine Center is another one, more on the romantic comedy side. But these are just some titles that have come out in the last year, with House of Flame and Shadow is out this month. So just an example of kind of where the genre is at. So this is what NoveList likes to call its heat index. So you can take these appeal terms, chaste, mildly sensuous, steamy, and explicit. And if you put that AP for appeal in front of it, you can then find chaste romance titles in NoveList. So that's where you're finding titles based on what you know your readers are looking for. And so I am going to hop into NoveList right now and show you what that looks like. I'm going to clear my search by clicking on the NoveList logo. And what I'm going to do is put GN for romance, that's the genre code, and then AP chaste. Oh, let's see what's going on. Let me go to advanced search and see. Go AP chaste, and then GN romance, and search. So this is searching just for titles that are chaste romances. And then I can drill down here if I want to look at theme. So I could look at, if I want to go for a more holiday romance, I could click holiday romance or home again as a theme. Or if I want to go more in the Christian romance side, I could click on Test of Faith. So if I click on Test of Faith, I have 17 titles that fit that category and that theme. If I go back, I can also change this to just titles that have been published in the last couple years and update my results. And so instead of 700, I now have 195. And then I can shorten this list down even more. Like if I just want to find a list on opposites attracting for this particular search, I now have 8 titles. So that's where I think the field codes, as you get more comfortable with them, can save you a lot of time. And this also goes if you're looking for recommendations like based on appeal, like witty, and then genre, romance. You don't have to use the heat index. You can use some of the other appeal terms. And then I see here are some witty romance titles like Red, White, and Royal Blue, The Love Hypothesis, The True Love Experiment. And then I could click on a theme like Enemies to Lovers, classic romance theme, and then add that in. And now I have 37 titles to choose from. And I could also change the storyline if I wanted to just find titles or location. Like let's say I just want it to be set in California, and now I have 2. So that's the way that I think you can kind of pinpoint certain aspects of a genre and use those field codes to find a shorter list of recommendations beyond what you're seeing in the recommended reads and other resources in the tool. So that's available for y'all to use later. So again, you're just putting AP in front of any one of these terms, and you can find romance titles that fit that content preference, because that is a key part of the reader experience in the romance genre. We're going to jump into mystery now. So I'm a huge fan of mystery. If you ever want to talk about it, or if you want me to do just a deep dive on mystery for a webinar in the future, let me know in the survey. But here are some key titles that have come out in the last few years. So mystery, there's so much going on. As Julie and I were planning this webinar, we talked about, like, how do you even explain this genre? There's suspense and thriller, there's police procedurals, there's crime fiction, there's spy fiction, there's cozies. And so for the purposes of this webinar, we won't go too into the weeds on it. But here are just a couple that you could get started with. And then here are just some questions to ask readers. So one thing that you might want to ask if you're looking to market a particular genre or a subgenre is, what series are popular amongst your readers? With mystery, because it is so serialized, there are often so many series that readers get into. They can start with one of the 10th title in a 30-book series, or they could just be completionists about it. So that's something to look at your search stats, potentially usage stats, and see what are some series that are really connecting with your readers in mystery. If you're looking, to move beyond the James Patterson, the John Grishams, that's where you might kind of use your search data to identify some patterns and recommend titles based on those patterns. One thing is also, what titles are similar to popular TV shows or movies, because that can be such a gateway into a genre. So the reason I like mystery is I'm a huge fan of mystery TV shows, like love Twin Peaks, love The X-Files, love just a police procedural. So it's really brought me in from there. And so if I can find titles that feel like a TV show or a movie that I already like, that's a nice kind of way to browse for my own thing. And so in looking at popular TV shows or movies, moving beyond the obvious ones like Knives Out and Only Murders in the Building, and really kind of getting into what are some of the adaptations that are coming out. Are there any reboots in this mystery genre that are page to screen adaptations? And so that's where you can take the recommended reads for fans of section. You can take the page to screen. You can also kind of look at some of the blog posts that NoveList puts out about finding titles based on popular TV shows or movies. Readers. So these are good questions to ask readers if they're looking for recommendations in mystery. What is your level of intensity and threshold for graphic content? You don't want to give them a recommendation for like a grisly rural noir when really what they're looking for is a gentle read, a cozy mystery, or more of a gentle Agatha Christie book versus some of her more graphic content, even in her books. Do you prefer standalone or series? Personally, I'm way more of a standalone than a series. And so that's something that can help you with searching. The field code for standalone is SA, and then I believe it's SE for series. We've also linked to the whole directory of field codes. So that's a nice way to kind of get into searching. Where can we find a complete guide of field codes? Yes. So let me actually just show you in the handout that, let me look right here. There we go. Enter. There we go. So the full list of field codes we have linked here. Sorted by category, sorted by code. There's some here, name description. So yeah, the field codes like GN for genre, DP for Dewey, LX for Lexile, MM for media mention. So if you just want to search what's been mentioned on the view, you can do that in the search bar, or fresh air. So this is the whole list of field codes. And then if you want the whole list of appeal terms, don't think we have linked to it, but we'll link to it in the handout here. And then here's a really good cheat sheet for field codes that you're welcome to use. You can add the and to your search if you want it all in one line, or you can just use the advanced and just put the different codes on different lines. But yeah, as I mentioned, SA for standalone, and then ST for series. So I'll update my slides with that. But here's how you could take a field code into mystery. Like, I'm going to say SA and genre. I'm going to put in, let's see, I'll go with psychological suspense and then search. Let me go to advanced search. I'm going to do that, and SA for standalone. It doesn't seem right. Let's see. Go genre, mystery. This is giving me 3 titles. Let's go with here. I'm going to go. Let's see what this is standalone. Okay. So that's why I have to put in SAY. So I will add that to my notes. The SA, let's see, and search, go GN, let's say psychological suspense, and then SAY. There we go. 403 standalone psychological suspense titles. And then I can narrow this down. So if I want to go into the theme missing memories, now I have 8 titles that are standalones. And some good recommendations to get started, like Pines by Blake Crouch, being an example. Now, one thing that I did want to share is cozy mysteries have become really popular. Here are some titles that have come out in the last year. So Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jesse Q. Santano. That's a standalone. It's very much, as the quote says, comfort food book. And it's definitely an aging sleuth. So think like Murder, She Wrote. Shady Hollow is a cozy mystery that involves woodland creatures as the characters. And it's definitely part of the growing cozy mystery. So a lot more queer writers in cozy mysteries now. And Juno Black, that's the pen name for 2 writers who are writing the Shady Hollow series. Now, search tips wise, you can go through the cozy mystery genre guide. It's also great to find titles that are tied to a particular hobby, like cooking or knitting, or finding titles that are tied to a specific setting, like in searching a novelist for cozies, Scotland comes up quite a bit, in the UK. And then I also search for some titles from Florida if you want some sunny, cozy mysteries. But if we're going into the platform itself, and I want to search for a cozy mystery, I'm going to put in GN and then cozy mystery. And let's see here. And then I can narrow this down further. Like if I want the subject to include a cozy mystery about women bakers, then I have 164 titles. And I can narrow this from what is recent, and now I have 28 different titles in the last year related to baking themed cozy mysteries. Some that are forthcoming and then some that have come out in the last couple of years. But this is where you can take this full list and change it as you see fit. Or if you want a cozy mystery, let me X women bakers so I can take out my search up at the top here. If I want the theme to be, let's see, subject wise, I want it to be Sherlock Paws. So I want a pet that is involved in solving this mystery. I have 9 different titles, one of which is forthcoming. But that's some ways that you can kind of play around with this genre and find recommendations. But again, doesn't hurt to see what corresponding genre guide there is. So if I want to search through this list and click on the cozy mysteries, CJ Connor is also a writer of cozy mysteries. So you're getting recommendations from NoveList staff and other contributors that are really timely and relevant. So getting those authors to watch is Jesse Q. Santano, and then some recommendations. Now I'm going to head back to my slides and we're going to talk through just a couple of things. So nonfiction, we've covered various pathways for nonfiction. The audiobooks as a great point of entry in finding recommendations for nonfiction, like biography, recommended reads, using the media mention section. Often the media mentions you're going to get some fiction recommendations, but there's also a lot of popular nonfiction that you can find through looking at what's being mentioned on Fresh Air, what's being mentioned on Good Morning America. And then the browse by nonfiction genre is great. We covered media mentions. Another search that you can do is nonfiction that reads like fiction. So that's where you can literally put into the search bar itself nonfiction that reads like fiction. And I have 700 different recommendations for, let me put in GN before just to make sure. There we go. So if I put in GN nonfiction that reads like fiction, I have recommendations like Eric Larson, Bad Blood, the book about Theranos, more true crime, Killers of the Flower Moon. So it's a mix of biography, of literary nonfiction, true crime, and then you can kind of narrow from here if you want to look at a thought-provoking tone. Now I have 59 titles. But that's a really great little trick, is you don't just have the set genres, but you have some of these tools like nonfiction that reads like fiction, or if you want to put in gentle reads, that's another great like non-genre specific search that you can do, where you're just finding like within this, if I want to look at coming of age, gentle read, here are some titles. Or musical reads that are gentle reads. So another way that you can just find recommendations really easily. based on reader preference. So that's a really good tool and trick. I love that nonfiction that reads like fiction. So I do have a question about format, because this came up in the registration, is thinking about like, what might patrons want to listen to in an audiobook versus read on an e-reader versus check out a print copy. And so I thought I would kind of turn this question on to you all and take this poll and ask, what is your preference? This also may be something that you could then use in your library social media on Instagram or Facebook even, and get some feedback from your own readers. And as Julie and I thought about this question, a couple things came to mind. Audiobooks and ebooks are so great for ease of use. There are different titles that I would check out on Hoopla on my phone versus what I might check out in print. I just want something really easy, relaxing to have on my commute to work, or, if I'm waiting at an appointment for something like auto body shop or at the doctor's office. Having Hoopla on your phone or Libby is so fantastic. The other thing with ebooks and audiobooks is the privacy. Maybe being able for a reader to check out a title in a genre that you're new to, and you just want to kind of find something quickly. That's where ebooks and audiobooks come in. It's also such a great tool for putting yourself on the list for a popular title, like Britney Spears's memoir, but also, Fourth Wing, so many of these titles that are so popular. A Court of Thorn and Roses. That's the book that I was thinking of. So I'm going to end the poll and share out. We've got a lot of old school hardcovers and paperbacks. I get you. I like it for my eyes. We have one person saying scrolls. Great. Yeah, so I think it's good to kind of think about what you like and kind of observe what your patrons are into. I think some genres definitely lend themselves to using ebooks and audiobooks if you want to breeze through them quickly. Romance being one where a reader might not necessarily want to check out the print title, but they can check one out from Libby. One that came up recently when I was at a genre readers advisory event at Chapel Hill Public Library was adults who might want to read YA titles, since there's such interest in YA. And so many more authors and publishers in that field than like years ago. There's such a kind of blurry area of like really great, compelling YA that adults might want to read as well. And so one thing that this reader mentioned was like, I don't necessarily want to go into the teen space of the library and feel like I'm encroaching on their territory, but I do want to read those titles. And that might be where Hold Shelf comes in, or like library lockers, some sort of checkout process if they feel like they prefer that. But it's really also where ebooks and audiobooks can come into play, along with memoir as a great one for just breezing through a nice audiobook that's narrated by the person. I do want to share quickly some key titles in our collections that you might want to share with readers. So with Hoopla, we have some ebook content. The majority of the NC Live collection in Hoopla is audiobooks, and so I really want to stress that. And there's some very engaging ones. So Neil Gaiman is somebody he's a fantastic fantasy author, narrates all of his own books. One of the titles, The Ocean at the End of the Lane, is available in Hoopla. So that's somebody who definitely recommend. Louise Penny is a mystery writer who I mentioned earlier in the mystery section, but A Rule Against Murder, very fantastic. suspense thriller set in this like secluded mountain lake community, where you can listen to the audiobook through Hoopla. Sarah J. Maas, as I've mentioned a couple times before, romance fantasy author who that title is available in audiobook on Hoopla. There's also tons of nonfiction. So a lot of sports related nonfiction, like The Boys in the Boat, which was recently adapted into a movie by George Clooney, Moneyball. Haruki Murakami has a memoir about running that's great. And then also The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. If you're looking for titles to promote for Black History Month next month, look at some of the recommendations in Hoopla, because sometimes that's a really nice way for readers that don't have a lot of time to read is through audiobooks. Ebooks. So this is the last thing I'll mention before questions. Homegrown is our collection that we manage access to. You have no holds, checkouts, waitlist, so anybody can read a title. It's now in Libby as your always available collection. And we select these titles and purchase them from North Carolina authors and publishers. Here are a couple. An American Marriage by Tyree Jones and The Leavers by Lisa Coe are book club best bets in NoveList, that are fantastic examples of literary fiction that are in Homegrown. So if you're looking for a title to promote that you know nobody is going to need to wait for, check out in any way, they could just read immediately. Those two are fantastic. There's also a lot of nonfiction content in Homegrown. So tons of cookbooks like the new Southern Garden cookbook, if you want to promote that this spring, or travel guides like Atlas Obscura's travel guide, are all available in that collection. So I just think it's very much a lovely hidden gem of a resource that we've provided over the years. Marketing resources. I'm going to scroll through this. We have our print materials program. You can refer to this later, but basically you can order high quality posters and bookmarks from NoveList, put them in your holds, have them on the desk, put up glossy posters in the library. Our shared promotional materials LibGuide, that's where you can download graphics for free that we create for our resources to promote them. So kind of taking a lot of the design work and letting you avoid reinventing the wheel. If you want marketing tips, sign up for our marketing listserv. It is maintained by our community engagement librarian, Sophie Hollis. But that's a great tool. Every month she has some fantastic tips. And then questions. So we have several minutes left. So wanted to see if there's any questions about Advanced Readers Advisory. Can graphic novels be separated by content area? Yeah, like if you were to search, let me jump into NoveList now. It's a great question. So there's the graphic novels and manga, and you have romance and relationships. Like if I want to look at this particular title here, let me see, romance comics, they have romantic as tone. But if I wanted to find one that, like if I go to advanced search, I feel like graphic novels, even though graphic novels are a format and not necessarily a genre, I think you can search. And then like, let's say if I want to put in one of the terms, this is, you know, if I wanted to find something that was using that. Let me see. Maybe Chase is not the best appeal terms. Yeah, publishers all have their own systems. But I think you can kind of like, let's say if I add the tone romantic, take a look at some of the terms, the appeal terms that are being used to categorize it. And then age range too. So like this being something that is definitely more YA range. So it's romantic, but you know, for a YA graphic novel, it's going to be more in YA content range. Yeah, one thing that I forgot to mention is they have a term called own voices. That is a great tool for finding diverse fiction. It's basically novelist's way of categorizing titles as diverse from authors of underrepresented backgrounds. So if I put own voices and then put in, you know, literary fiction, let's see. These are all literary fiction titles by diverse authors. Is there an index like the Heat Index for romance, for language and violence? No, but if you go to browse by appeal, you could take a look at character and find some ways to categorize, or like storyline. Let's see. No, tone. If you go by tone, that's where you find the term like chaste, explicit, homespun, melancholy. I want to say violent is one where if you're looking for that, they have it categorized as such. But you can kind of tell if you're using some of these appeal terms like homespun or heartwarming, that those are not going to give you titles that are more grisly. It's kind of how I would use the appeal terms, is like categorizing what you're looking for versus what you're not. Like if you're not looking for disturbing, don't use the disturbing appeal term for tone. What if a book you're trying to find a read-alike for isn't able to be found on NoveList? That's a good question. NoveList has thousands of recommendations. They are mostly popular fiction, so not a lot of things that are out of print. But I found, like, for instance, there was one title that I read recently that has been out of print for a while, Breaking and Entering by Joy Williams. And I found read-alikes for this title in NoveList. So there you'd be surprised. Like there's a lot, like this book is not something that's going to be in bookstores right now. But there are recommendations for titles that are in bookstores, like The Girls by Emma Cline. So that you, oh yeah.
If I could add too, I wonder if that would be an opportunity to use the feedback form kind of up at the top right under the account.
Yeah, definitely.
And same kind of thing. There's also the one to suggest a read alike. So if you've read something, so it's right beside the feedback form. So that might be a way to request it in a way.
Yeah. So suggesting read alike if you fill this out. They're really responsive. So that's another tack to take.
And I haven't explored it either, talking about the graphic novel I wonder if looking by appeals terms, I didn't see it in the list, but I wonder
Yeah.
if there's a way to use that appeals terms
Combo.
search and get those graphic novels narrowed down.
Yeah, it's what in looking at the graphic novels, nothing came up when I put chaste as an appeal term, but it did when I put romantic. So something leads me to believe like if you can kind of separate and then look at the reader reviews and some of the other read alikes and find out content wise if it's going to be explicit or not. One thing is because finding diverse titles for Reader's Advisory, I feel like can be its own separate deep dive. And I felt like it was hard to put in everything I love about that topic into this webinar. We're going to have another and March 19th at 2. So if you want to register for that to either attend or receive the recording, I'll just be dedicating time in NoveList and in our collections for finding diverse titles. So just a heads up about that. We are at time, so I'll stick around for another minute or so if people want to ask questions, but we will stop here.